Indian Lake. It's 8 o'clock.
Good morning. This is Northern Light for Tuesday, August 8th. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe.
The Adirondack Land Trust has preserved 187 acres of land across the Adirondack Lodge Road and Route 73. It's a scenic vista that the board chair describes as breathtaking.
It is arguably the most iconic scenic vista in the entire Adirondack Park. And part of our mission is to protect scenic vistas.
A lot of people took up hobbies during the pandemic. It turns out arm wrestling grew in a big way, and we'll meet up with a group of guys that compete regularly.
The adrenaline is absolutely insane. It's so awesome. And there's nothing else. It's like driving your race car. You know, it's the same exact thing.
And we'll catch up with astronomer Eileen O'Donoghue, who's stopping by to walk us through the morning and evening skies this August. All of that and more is coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us.
Broadcast of Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio is supported by Adirondack Foundation and the Adirondack Birth to Three Alliance, dedicated to providing all children the best possible start in life, AdirondackBT3.org, and by Long Run Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor in Lake Placid, providing comprehensive wealth management, retirement, and financial planning solutions, longrunwealth.com.
This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe. One of the most iconic views of the Adirondack High Peaks has been protected by an environmental group. The Adirondack Land Trust bought a large field along the Adirondack Lodge Road and Route 73 near Lake Placid. Emily Russell spoke with Bill Paternotte, who is the board chair of the Adirondack Land Trust.
So I know a lot of people drive by this view all the time, both locals and visitors to the Adirondacks. But for someone who's never seen this view from the Lodge Road and Route 73, can you just kind of like describe it for me? What does it look like? And yeah, what is it like?
Frankly, I would describe it as breathtaking. You drive on Route 73 toward Lake Placid from Keene and Keene Valley. And as you approach the land that we purchased, you don't really have any idea that this vista is going to suddenly open up. And as you pass by some forested area, you come into the open and look left and see a very, very large meadow. And beyond that are views of Mount Marcy, Algonquin, Colden, some of the highest peaks in the Adirondacks, and the most dramatic. That's what you see. What you don't see is a series of wonderful trails in the wooded part of the land that we purchased. And that will be ultimately opened up to the public. But for now, it's not visible.
So the Adirondack Land Trust bought the property for more than $2.3 million. Why did the trust think it was worth what it spent on it? Why did it want to protect this 187 acres there?
Well, we really felt that it is arguably the most iconic scenic vista in the entire Adirondack Park. And we didn't want to see that ultimately marred by, any kind of development or anything that would sort of disturb that view. And part of our mission is to protect scenic vistas. So that was really our motivation. It's entirely consistent with our mission as a land trust. And to be able to protect that in perpetuity is really something we could not pass on, frankly. And also, I would say, we were uniquely positioned to do this because of the scale and scope of the land trust.
down the line, years from now, I wonder if you could just kind of paint a picture of how the Adirondack Land Trust envisions the property being used.
Yes. Well, we have a lot of planning to do now that we own the property. And that planning will take place over the next year or two to come up with the best way to, at some point, make it open and available to the public. And that's, again, part of our mission. We call this a preserve, meaning that it is preserved for posterity through ownership by the land trust. So we will come up with a plan to create, enough parking to accommodate the public when they do want to access it. It's not going to be a huge amount of parking, but you need to provide for that because otherwise people will just pull off the road. One of the things we want to do is make sure that it is accessible for physically challenged people. And we've actually had a chance to test that out a little bit with some people that we know. And so, there aren't many trails and public lands in the Adirondacks are simply not handicap accessible. So we're going to do a lot of planning about those things. We're going to have to raise some money. And in fact, the press release pointed out that we'll probably be raising something like $2.5 million additional dollars to make these improvements and changes before we open it up to the public.
Bill Patternot is board chair of the Adirondack Land Trust. He spoke with Emily Russell.
A new Border Patrol station in Clinton County broke ground last week. The 36,000 square foot facility will replace the current one in the town of Champlain. It's expected to open in 2 years. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the current facility was built for 15 patrol agents, while the new one has been designed for 50 agents and staff. The huge construction project comes just a few years after CPB opened a $215 million facility in Alex Bay. It's also eyeing another Border Patrol facility in Blind Bay on the St. Lawrence River, though that project is being challenged by some locals and environmental groups.
A nursing home in Tupper Lake has been sold to new management. In a press release yesterday, Adirondack Health said it sold Mercy Living Center to a man named Mark Salomon, who manages other long-term care facilities around the state. The CEO of Adirondack Health said the sale was necessary for Mercy's overall sustainability. Salomon now owns the nursing home in Tupper Lake and is working to update the center's state certificate to take over its operations. Listening to Northern Light right here on North Country Public Radio. It's 8 minutes past 8. Good morning. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. Coming up, supermoons and a glittery Milky Way galaxy. We talk with astronomer Eileen O'Donoghue coming up in just a few minutes right here on Northern Light.
This is music by the Curries. They are Potsdam hometown boys, and you can catch their music anytime on our website, ncpr.org/_. And the Curries are going to be returning to the North Country, playing in Hewelton this Sunday, August 13th, 6:30, at the boat launch on Lisbon Street. And then at Pickens Hall if it's raining. Admission is by donation, sponsored by the Hewelton Historical Association. That's the Curries, Sunday, August 13th, 6:30 in Hewelton. Northern Light is supported by Adirondack Land Trust, hosting its public annual meeting August 12th at Eline Farm in Lake Placid. Learn more at AdirondackLandTrust.org. And by Fisher, Bissett, Muldowney, and McCardle, attorneys and counselors at law with offices in Malone, Tupper Lake, and Saranac Lake. 800-941-5001.
All this week, we're featuring life and culture around upstate New York, thanks to our public radio colleagues around the state. Today, arm wrestling. People have been doing it since the dawn of civilization, but the sport is riding a new wave of popularity. David Andriata from public radio station WXXI in Rochester visited the city's epicenter of the sport.
All right, I'll say go, but lift your elbow up. Okay, ready, go.
Yep. The back room of a burger joint is an unlikely arena for hand-to-hand combat. Yet, at Bill Gray's on Latta Road, men with ham-hock forearms and chalk-powdered hands clasped in a vice-like grip face off over platform tables.
Watch him get real grumpy now.
It's a Thursday night practice for the Easy Rollers Arm Wrestling Club. Peter Brana is one of the pullers, as arm wrestlers are called. He says the weekly sessions are like therapy for him.
Come here every Thursday, you can get aggression out, with just those pulls. Someone pulling your arm and you fighting against it. You're getting a lot out, like all those emotions, everything you want to let out that you can't, you're letting out on the table.
Are you an angry guy?
Not angry, but on the table, you can let a lot out.
You look like the type of person I wouldn't want to get angry.
Oh, no, yeah.
Interest in arm wrestling was already on the upswing thanks to reality TV, matches on ESPN, and tournament purses that hit $100,000. But popularity really exploded during the pandemic when people, mostly men, found arm wrestling videos online and began training to stave off boredom. Denise Waddles is the executive director of the United States Arm Wrestling Association in Billings, Montana.
But I think a lot of it does have to do with the videos on the internet and word of mouth. And boys and men have to have something to do or they're going to get in trouble. So
she may have a point. All of the 24 easy rollers crammed into that back room at Bill Gray's are guys, ranging in age from their teens to their 50s. One of them is 25-year-old Gunnar Costin, a drummer in a rock band.
You've got a great name for arm wrestling.
Yes, I do. My nickname is Guns, so yes.
He discovered arm wrestling 2 years ago and quickly became addicted.
The adrenaline is absolutely insane. It's so awesome. And there's nothing else. It's like driving your race car. It's the same exact thing. So, yeah.
For a young man, the sport has other potential benefits.
You look cool in front of the girls, you know what I mean? So when they do come.
Which is how often?
Yeah, not often, but yeah.
Women do have a presence in the sport, but the world of arm wrestling is dominated by men. Pullers talk a lot about camaraderie and the bonding effect the sport has on teachers and students, old and young, fathers and sons. At a nearby table is Jim Jackson arm wrestling his 13-year-old boy, Jimmy.
So word around the club here, young man, is that you're a beast.
I mean, yeah.
The Jacksons started watching arm wrestling on YouTube a couple years ago. Now they follow pullers and work out with the Easy Rollers. Jimmy takes what he learns to school.
No, but every so often someone will challenge me and I'll just hold them in place and I'll do the techniques I know and they'll be like, you're cheating, you can't do that and stuff.
Well, that's kids for you.
Yeah, it is.
I decide to try my hand at arm wrestling with the club's organizer, Nathaniel Vinje. He's 19. Like seasoned vets, we shake hands as a sign of respect, then clasp palms, brace our bodies, and pull. At least, I pull.
Yeah.
Come on.
Get down. Doing good.
Get down.
As we sway back and forth, fast food customers sipping on sodas stop to watch the spectacle. Giovanni Leone is a Rochester Institute of Technology marketing student. He's out of breath and massaging his forearm, having just finished his own match, when he takes note of the spectators.
We get a lot of bystanders in arm wrestling here, and I think that's why there is potential in this sport, because people obviously love to watch it. So people can kind of understand the competitive sport. Maybe it can become more of a mainstream sport.
David Andriata, WXXI News.
You're listening to Northern Light right here on North Country Public Radio. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. Coming up in just a minute, astronomer Eileen O'Donoghue is here in the studio to guide us through the morning and evening skies. Then join us after the show for Bird Note coming up at 8:42. But first, Todd has a look at the weather for us.
Probably not the best sky viewing tonight with clouds in the forecast and some scattered showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm. Highs today upper 60s into the mid 70s, light winds out of the south-southwest. About a 50-50 chance of more rain possible tonight. Then tomorrow, sunshine. Places like the Thousand Islands and Watertown, partly cloudy elsewhere, a high around 80 tomorrow. And it looks like partly cloudy skies at this point right through the weekend with a chance of some scattered showers on Thursday with highs upper 70s near 80. The weekend, partly cloudy Saturday and maybe a chance of some rain again on Sunday. Right now, clouds 70 degrees in Canton. And, if you expect things to happen only once in a blue moon, well, this is your month.
That's right. It's not just a blue moon. It's a super blue moon.
Eileen O'Donoghue teaches astronomy at St. Lawrence University, and she comes in not once every blue moon, but once a month.
About once a month.
Yeah.
On average.
So, what's happening? What's going on? In terms of daylight
we have got two perigee syzygies in the same month. This is just a big deal. And so syzygy, and that's spelled S-Y-Z-Y-G-Y. Syzygy is just an alignment of celestial objects. And so when we have a new moon or a full moon, it's a syzygy. And because the Earth and the Sun and the Moon are lined up, which is why we're new we're full. And the Moon is in an elliptical orbit, like all the planets and moons are in the solar system. And so it's sometimes closer to the Earth and sometimes farther away. When it's at its closest, that is perigee, all right, closest to the Earth. And so the difference in those distances, so when it's at perigee closest, it's at 226,000 miles away. When it's at apogee, at its farthest away, so that's like when you're, playing basketball and you jump up at your peak, you're at your apogee. And the apogee, it's at 252,000 miles. All right, so 26,000 miles. That's a significant difference. And so when it's at perigee closest, it's about 14% larger when you look at the full moon than it is at apogee, and it's about 30% brighter. Not that you notice looking at the full moon in a month when it's at apogee versus a full moon in a month when it's perigee. The tides do notice. Those of you who've lived on the coast know that the high tide isn't always the same height, and the low tide isn't always the same low. And so when when you have the full moon and the new moon, that's when you have the highest tides, the spring tides, because they spring out of the ocean. And when you have it at perigee, the high tide at full moon at perigee, then you have the king tides, and sometimes you got coastal flooding and things.
Actually the pole of the moon?
Yes, it is. It is. And what the tides are due to is that the pull of the moon on the near side of the Earth is greater than the pull of the moon on the far side of the Earth. So it kind of stretches the Earth out. And even on land, there is a tide of about a foot. Huh. All right. But, of course, the oceans are much more flexible, so they show us tides. And there are tides in the atmosphere as well. So we see it in all of these features. So, people who do tides have known about the perigee syzygy for a while. But with the 24-hour news cycle, we need to make a bigger deal of it.
So where did the term blue moon...
Well...
It's not blue, obviously. Right?
No, it doesn't look blue. The moon can look blue, and it has in the past. In order to look blue, you have to have a certain particulate size in the air. So sometimes when volcanoes have gone off, that far from the volcanoes, the moon appears blue. Sometimes with smoke, the smoke from the fires, you can see the moon will have a blue tint. But the term blue moon has evolved So the current meaning of it is when there's a second full moon in a month. It's called a blue moon, and that's not that all uncommon. But a super blue moon, I think we won't have this again until the 2030s, So it's not exactly once in a lifetime. But
9 years from now or something.
Yeah. So,
but the one this month is coming up the 31st?
31st. So
cool.
The 1st and the 31st, yes. So that's kind of an exciting thing. And you can usually see the full moon, even through the haze and humidity and some of the clouds. So, but we are getting a little dark back.
Yes. 40 minutes
we have 40,
so far?
Yeah. Well, 40 minutes in the morning.
Okay.
And I think a half an hour in the evening. So we're gaining a little dark. So some of us who like dark are starting to relax a little bit. And that dark is nice because this is the really glittery part of the sky is up in the south. The Milky Way, the center of the Milky Way, Sagittarius and Scorpius. And if we do get a break in the clouds, and it doesn't look like we're going to get much over the next few weeks, but if we do get a break, you can just, with binoculars, just enjoy that. Because the planets, Jupiter and Saturn are in the morning. Mercury, Venus, and Mars are in the evening, but they're very low. Mercury is at its highest. I mean, it's, all of, let's see, how high did I say? 10 degrees above the horizon at 8:30. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Mercury is hard to catch.
Did you get to see Mercury, Todd? I know you were hoping to.
I did not, but, we have trees in the way,
Yep, same.
Yeah, you have to be deliberate about seeing Mercury, unless, those lucky people who live on the prairie can see it more frequently, but,
Still on the bucket list.
Someday.
Yep. So that's, the sky is the thing to look at. All the way up Sagittarius, Scorpius through Cygnus, the Swan, just over the arc, straight up from the south to north is this glittery part of the Milky Way, and it's just lovely.
It is. I took your advice this last month. It was a couple of weeks ago, and I had gone to the late night showing of a movie, and I got home and I was like, I am not ready to go to bed yet. And it was finally a clear sky when it's been so cloudy. So I just took Eileen's advice, put on the bug dope, as you always say, and just put out a blanket and just laid out for like an hour and looked at the summer triangle. It was just like, it was doing its thing. Vega,
very
Deneb.
pretty, and you don't need, a telescope is hard to aim there, but binoculars are just your eyes. It's just, and to do things like see if you can get your mind to perceive depth in the sky. It's not a correct depth because you're going to consider the bright stars closer and the dim stars farther away, which is not at all true. The bright stars are bright because they're huge. But it is a nice time just to enjoy the sky.
Yes, and I know the Perseid meteor showers.
Right. This is another time to just look at the sky. Don't use binoculars. You don't need any instruments other than your eyeballs. And so the Perseid meteor shower this year is going to be great because we're in the dark of the moon. All right. We got a third quarter today, and then we're going into the new moon. And the Perseids will peak on Sunday night, the 13th? Yeah, 4 a.m. on the 13th is like the peak. And what this is that Comet Swift-Tuttle comes swooping by periodically, and it leaves all this debris behind it. And it crosses Earth's orbit. And when we move through that debris it left behind, these are all these meteors, little bits of dust and rock and stuff. And so when they fall into our atmosphere, they create these meteors. And we can have up to 150 meteors per hour. Wow. So it's a nice time. Yeah, get a blanket and the bug dope and just lie. You don't have to look in the direction where you can see the sky. Yeah. And that's any direction is fine. And you can watch these things and know that these are little dust balls from a comet that has, passed by numerous times. And it's like the universe is dynamic and alive, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
If it's clear and you're out camping, let's say. Oh yeah. And you get one of those tents with the opening where you can see through it, at least the netting on the top. That would, and no light pollution.
Right.
That is what's
right.
Really
the lights
cool.
are the hardest part, particularly when we've got this humidity, because it just blurs out the sky. But yes, find a dark sky and just enjoy it. You're part of this universe. You emerge from it. We're not, just plunked here. We're a part of it, and it's home. Enjoy your home.
Eileen O'Donoghue, thank you so much. It's always a delight to have you stop by.
It's always fun.
It's always fun. Eileen teaches astronomy at St. Lawrence University, and she stops by once a month to tell us about what's up in the night and morning skies. Music by the Curries out of Potsdam. And just a reminder that they're going to be in Huvilton this Sunday, August 13th at 6:30. Depending on the weather, they're planning to perform at the boat launch on Lisbon Street in Huvilton at Pickens Hall if it's raining. Admission is by donation, sponsored by the Huvilton Historical Association. Again, that's Potsdam's the Curries. They'll be in Huvilton this Sunday night. Some of the events happening around the region. Actually, tomorrow night, just want to remind you, Brian Thompson, who is the award-winning DeKalb historian, is going to give a talk about the rise of the Ku Klux Klan in St. Lawrence County during the 1920s. He'll give that talk at the Ogdensburg History Museum on Ford Street. It's open to everyone, and that's happening tomorrow night, starting at 7 o'clock at the Ogdensburg History Museum.
Don't forget to head to the Tupper Arts Center to check out the upcoming exhibit starting on August 10th, Adirondack Inspired. The show will feature both new and old works by renowned Adirondack artist Gary Cassegrain. His original works in oil and watercolor and pencil and prints all reflect the beauty of the park and its people and its dogs. They say that it's a feast for the eyes and the soul, and we'll hear a conversation with him coming up Thursday on Northern Light that Todd did. He recently sat down with him. So looking forward to that coming up on Thursday right here on Northern Light. That music, it's time to say goodbye. That means it's the end of the show. Morning Edition continues in just a couple of minutes. Then stick around for the Marketplace Morning Report coming up between 8:51 and 9 o'clock.
If you miss a story or a segment of Northern Light, you can always check it out online. Visit our news page, listen back to a story, share the audio. That's at ncpr.org. Thanks for listening. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. Be well.